15.
All right, get it. Make sure you're in both of these. All right, cool. All right, so I guess over a little debrief on the DB Hammer day one.
DB Hammer project.
DB Hammer project day one today. I'm the test subject. Pete's the, what do they call the mastermind behind it?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah. And obviously this is from DB Hammer's book. We took a lot of the ideas there.
So I'll explain, full disclosure. Hello, DD Barbell. Full disclosure, I have never met DB Hammer. I don't even know if he truly exists. But definitely was one of those guys that looked at the InnoSport way back when. I've had the book for a while, and Evie was like, hey, I want to do something that's related to that. So it is my interpretation of some of the different, I guess you want to call them methodics or methods in there, based on, you know, where Evie placed in terms of her neuro outputs.
And I would say a lot of athletes probably place in the one I'm in, like force dominant type athletes. A lot, I would say a lot.
For the most part, probably yes, probably because, you know, not everybody is. The reason what makes the great athletes is what makes them great athletes. And what I mean by that is there's not a whole lot of truly great athletes out there who can just walk out and do whatever. We're talking about field sports, team sports, whatever, the guys who could just run blazing fast, jump really high, whatever. The rest of us, so to speak, you know, have to train to get there. So if everybody thinks they're, you know, the biggest thing in like strength training now is why do it and this and that, and there's people that are gravitating so far away from it. It's like, well, because you're not strong enough in the first place, fool. I mean, you know, to do, you know, to do stuff, and then your coordination isn't as good, right? So I do feel that strength training has its place in that. And I'm referring to strength as a whole. You know, it's not just heavy weights all the time, or it's not just, you know, looking for a bodybuilder look. Sometimes building strength with a purpose can take on many forms. In our case, it's going to take on the form of kind of tapping more toward that neuroreflexive spots for you in particular, because you were just grindy, slow strength, a lot of strength endurance because you back catch, you know, all of those things, and you said you want to get faster. So we're going to try to continue where you left off with your last program. What was it called? The workhorse?
Racehorse.
Sorry. Racehorse 2.
By workhorse, which is latch and read.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we're trying to pick up from where that sort of left off.
That was more of a volume 2 based program, a lot of work capacity things, and now I feel like
you could reap the benefit from it, right? So it's kind of like phasic in a way. So you're going to do this high volume. Now we're going to come down to what I would call not necessarily a high volume or low volume, but it's going to be controlled volume. And by that control on that volume, on that overall tonnage, I don't even like using the word volume. I like using the word tonnage because it's a combination of weight, reps, sets.
Fair enough.
Because, you know, you're going to have more tonnage in a 5x5 or a 5x3, just using that as a base argument, right? In this case, it's auto-regulation and using drop-off. So again, another concept from the InnoSport DB Hammer is train to your drop-offs. And in this case, what was today? We had
the wickets and then with the regular sprint, or not the wickets.
We had to drop in off the box.
Then,
so
which was really interesting. I need to get used to that a little more.
Right. So kind of a playoff, and I'm never going to go outside of what I do.
Yeah, I liked your explanation on this. You kind of said, so max effort, dynamic effort, conjugate, but now we're shifting to the other side of the scale, like the DB Hammer scale, if you read the book, to dynamic and ballistic effort.
Yeah, that's the way I would call it.
That's how we're separating it.
That's the way I would call it. Yeah, right. Because, you know, the whole thing behind the DB Hammer, the whole crux of it is where you start is where your neurodynamics lie, right? There's either magnitude, rate, duration. You have neuro duration, and then neuro rate and magnitude's kind of in the middle. It's that bridge. For her, she was very neuro duration dominant. So now that in terms of conjugate, and again, my conjugate twist on this was moving that max effort day is more like a pure, if you want to put it in a conjugate form, dynamic effort day, right? So you're moving, you know, moderate to moderately heavy weights, and you're trying to move them explosively.
So was today that dynamic effort day?
Yes.
Yeah, the
because
day.
It's the more quote unquote force dominant day of the two, although the type of force we're trying to go more like moderate force, but applied as quickly as we can. So starting off with that explosive block, once again, we used the 20-yard dash, and again, using the arena gear as we do, as we always do, I'm able to extrapolate 3 different sprints from that. So from then we did, obviously the 20-yard dash was the metric or the measurable, the test exercise, but we can also get a 10-yard dash and a fly 10 with a 10-yard roll up or a 10-yard start with that. So for us, again, we've explained this in other videos, but if I can extrapolate 3 different things, I can see where's going what. Now in her sprints today, her start 10 needs a lot of work. It kind of dropped off quite a bit, even though I was using a 5% drop off of the sprint as a whole. So in our thing, we could have kept on going and going and going. But for me, I said either you're going to hit a 95% drop off within the course of 5 sprints. But if she's within that for 5 sprints, then she gets 5 sprints.
Then I get full 5 sprints.
Which
That's
she
like
did
the max.
Which she did today.
And I like to say, like, quoting like Tony Holler, because he was able to come speak at one of my classes, is you don't want to let the next day ruin tomorrow, or even thinking about it
today ruin tomorrow.
Yeah, even thinking about it daily. Don't let this session ruin my practice that I have later.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm left a few reps in the tank.
Yeah.
And
even though it didn't feel like that, because
it was a tough day, but yeah. So again, trying to err on the side of not being that grinder anymore, and actually truly develop speed and kind of that feed the cats notion. I've been kind of
you got to look at quality over quantity. Now, if your quality dictates to have more quantity on that day, then go with it, right? Like to counter that, one of my adult clients today, he was just typically it was a 5 set. He was just feeling it. He went 10 sets with his. Basically just did trap bar deadlifts for speed, a scoop throw, and then a box jump, and he just felt good. I'm going to keep going. Okay, he kept going. He could I'll go all the way to 10. But that was his whole workout. He was done after that.
We love Jeff.
Yeah, he's an older guy who golfs a lot, but he can just.
And he was doing some good jumps. We got to record one of those. His
everyday box jump is the 30-inch.
It's crazy
He
because
can easily get more. But
people cannot other adults need to be doing that.
He's 50 plus years old.
He was getting 52. Some high box jumps.
52, 50, 51, 52 maybe. I don't know. But anyway, older guy, golfs a ton, but it comes in and trains his ass off. Yeah. So to counter that, if you're feeling good, go with it. In case of Evie, she was able to hit, like I believe her cut took her to a 3.42. She never hit that, which is great. So to me, that actually, in a way, we talk about, pulling the floor and raising the ceiling. She kind of pulled that floor. Yeah. So her overall average, I think, was in the 3.2s.
Yeah,
which is great.
It was.
I don't know what her previous.
I was very consistent, so my average was 3.284, and I'm happy about that. And I think that has to do a lot too with the Racehorse 2. The Racehorse 2 dropped me by 0.1 second.
There you go.
But I think more
that's
now.
Still a pretty put.
No,
it doesn't sound like much, but that's a good.
No, that's good. And then
to lower a 10th.
Yeah, so I was always 3.3, 3. Even sometimes 3.4. But now I'm consistently a 3.2. So not only did I decrease by 0.1, but now my volume, I hit 3.2 every set except for the last set.
Yeah, there you go. So it gave you capacity to actually be faster, which is it's going to stick with you. And then when you start to hit those PRs, and again, this is all like I think too, and we contrasted with that with the drop-in starts a la Jeff Hauser, off the box. You'll see it on the video, and then kind of getting those steps over the hurdles. And at first it took, Evie's a thinker, so she was kind of going slow through it for the first couple sets. But after a while, she started to get it, and it started to take a little bit. But I contrasted those two. So in essence, you got 10 sets
sprints,
10 sprints in today. Obviously, one was for technique, where she's not purposely trying to run sub-maximal, but you kind of are if you don't have the timer out. And with the timer, she went balls out. So with that, you can always get a technical work in at a sub-maximal, I guess a sub-maximal pace. In this case, though, there's still
more
targets.
Constraint-led approach, if you want to think about it like
that. It's a constraint-led approach on a sprint to try to build that start. We got quite a bit some work to do because her best 10-yard dash was a 1.881. Then she went 1.92 and then started to drop off a little bit. Her back half wasn't bad. It was pretty consistent up to, actually got faster in the second, third, and fourth. It was all just about the same, it looked like. 3.42, 3.42, 3.49, dropped to a 3.80. So usually a good indication if that fly 10 drops off a little bit, it's probably, but that didn't drop off to the 5th one.
Right.
But yeah, that's where we just did 2 sprints to lead off in the explosive block. And again, we put a measurable in there. We call also a test exercise in the Dr. B vernacular, and we're using that to obviously measure where we are day to day, but also use that to auto-regulate how much volume we're doing with that. So if that drop off would have happened, if that 3-4 would have happened, like on the third sprint, we would have been done.
Right.
Or the fourth sprint would have been done. Typically, I'll give 2 to 3. Like I said, up to 5 or a 95% drop off. Could have gone more, but there was really no point to it.
No, yeah, I thought that was good as well.
3.42 would have been the drop, and 3.35 was about where you're at. So you probably would have only had one more left anyway. But again, we didn't want to let today ruin tomorrow and tip over that bucket.
Yeah.
But
Still got a ton of volume in.
So
yeah. Then we got into the main lift. So mag day / dynamic, if you want to talk about it. Safety bar, back squat.
Yeah,
staying above 0.75, and we did the oscillation. Now this sucked. This
so
sucked.
Again, so not your typical. It's how we did it that differed. So we used an oscillatory rep, and again, when I first heard of this stuff, it was back when Cal Dietz was writing about it. But this sort of stuff was reiterated in my head when I listened to that podcast, Joel Smith's one with Hauser and Sheldon. And how to execute. Oh, sorry. How to execute the lift. Anyway, she did 3 oscillations and then into a rep, and we did 5 of those reps. So if you think about it, that's 15 oscillations and then 5 reps. The goal was to say a whole set. We used the Gym Aware. I talked about not really using it too much with the younger crowd, but with her, we can kind of use it because we're trying to drive a strength speed effect here. So we use anything above, as long as we didn't drop below 0.65, we were good. And then we just kept going up in weight until she felt comfortable with one, and we're trying to
95, 115, 120 for 3.
120, and then you actually got better with that. So
that I got better.
What we're going to actually do with that is we are going to say, okay, so the next time she does this workout, and again, here's the auto regulation. She's going to start with 120 or 115, and then from there we're going to go up until she's probably hitting around those 0.65s, and then that'll be kind of like how we gauge it. And again, up to, if she craps out after 3 sets, we'll stop. If not, we'll keep going up to those 5 sets. Now we paired that with
the jumps.
Fat belt, or you can use dumbbells here. We use just dumbbell jumps, and we measure those again, kind of batching in an explosive block exercise into the mix. And she was doing sets of 3. So every 2 minutes she would do a set of 5, and then right into a set of 3 of jumps. And you actually got.
My last set was my best set. Right. So that's what I'm saying. Again, the noticing all these numbers, my capacity has increased a lot. Because even look at the squats, 7-8, 7-7, 7-7, 7-8. These are all similar numbers.
And that was as she went. Yeah,
as I went. So like my last sets were my best sets, except for my 5th sprint. But overall, I thought my capacity has been increasing a lot.
Yep.
So I'm able to handle more, and now look, I increased to 17.6 was my last one.
And that's with 26 extra pounds in her hands. Now we'll wave those up, a la, the Jason Bidney squat. I know he's controversial with some crowd, but I like the idea of using that. And she's good at moving heavy stuff fast, so I keep that in the program, and it can keep you like, oh man, I'm jumping higher. It's still, even though it's a higher force, it's still high speed because she's still trying to jump up as high as she could, right? So within that, we'll have again 5 sets on the 2 minutes. So you're doing.
I kind of did it on the 3 minutes because I was kind of dying.
Okay, so that's cool.
Yeah.
And
I was dying a little bit.
And that's something. 2 minutes.
So next week we can do maybe
2.5 minutes.
2.5,
right?
Yeah, because it was tough, honestly.
But you're looking at 5 sets done. Yeah, on the 2 minute, that might be. We'll think about that if we move that up.
Just because of the oscillations. The oscillations kind of. I'm not good at that. That's where I lack.
Inefficient, right?
That's where I'm inefficient. So that
turning on and turning off quickly,
yes.
And you'll notice that too. Like if you were to watch her run. She's very late to the gate, so to speak. She doesn't switch as quick, but we're working to improve that. That's the key.
That's the whole key of this thing.
That's the key. We're doing stuff that's going to be geared, even in the warm up when we did the speed rushes and stuff.
Those are, yeah.
And then again, it's just
do a video
pressing
on that
over and over and over again. Right now, this is the first workout of this thing, so I'm not expecting it to be perfect. Again, give them time to learn, give them time to fail.
Yeah. All right. So we did that 5 sets.
And that was. You had to expand that to the E303, and then you said that sucked.
That still sucked.
Why did it suck? It still
condition
sucked.
While you train.
We're done.
Yeah, condition while you train. That's what we did.
Okay,
too.
But it was tough. Well, I'm saying you said that sucked. What made it suck? Just the density of it, the technique that we're using.
The technique. It was the technique. The
Okay.
oscillations. Like if it was 5 regular back squat reps, I would have been fine.
Yeah.
But the oscillations
with only
even
120 pounds.
Yeah. And you can even see like my form for the first one was trash. And then I got a little better, but like it still was hard.
And that's part of it
difficult.
is the metabolic demand of doing those short oscillatory reps and up. Obviously, each rep is going to take longer than a normal conventional
More
rep.
time under tension.
And then there's the coordination part of it that she's not used to. It's like, it's again, we talked about variation without the noise. Well, today created a lot of noise because she's not used to any of these variations.
It was oscillations.
So she's probably going to be sore a little later. She might be sore for a couple of days. And the first couple of weeks may be like that. And then what's going to happen? She's going to adapt. And we're going to start to see those sprint times go down. Those jumps are going to go higher. You know, that's what's going to happen. But we have to allow. Yes, that's the key. Is this coordination part of it?
Yeah.
But anyways, back squats in this case, the oscillatory back squat mixed with fat bell or the dumbbell squat jumps, 5s and then triples on each of those respectively on the 303.
And then block 3 we had
and this
oscillatory
circuit.
Circuit. So this was even worse. 5 oscillations.
So instead of 3 oscillations, we go 1, 2, 3 and up. We did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And
3, 2, 1 rep scheme.
In a 3, 2, 1 rep scheme. So what that means is it's essentially 6 reps per set, right? But it's broken up. So she did 5 oscillations and then 3 reps. 5 oscillations and 2 reps. 5 oscillations and then 1 rep. And again, more, I should say, reflexive and explosive versions of classic exercises, except for the tramp ones, which I know were fun. So we use the glute ham first. So in the glute ham, she's coming up and she's kind of bouncing at that end range, and then boom, 1, 2, 3, and then so on and so forth for 2 and 1. Again, 5 oscillations and then followed by your reps. The next one was the front foot elevated reverse lunge, where she oscillated probably about mid-range or bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then an explosive reverse lunge. And then the way we did this, because what I noticed was her heels sink into the ground. So what we're going to try to get Evie is to learn how to stiffen up on ground contact. So again, this is another idea that Hauser was talking about. I think he said Eric Corum showed him this step-up drill where it was a floating heel. So in this case, we used a floating heel where she would bounce, and the first time she did it, we saw the heel kind of sink a little bit, and I was like, you got to keep that heel here. So we're getting no leakage at the ankle in this case. And how did that feel? How did that variation feel?
It was tough, but I liked it a lot. Like
tough in what way?
So it was hard I had to do like multiple things at once, keeping that floating heel and then the oscillations. But the oscillations definitely, but I was focusing on that, like each rep, trying to come up fast, like the 3, 2, 1.
Yeah. And those oscillations in that case, it's kind of like that Louis Simmons talked about before, like concept of virtual force. I'm like, well, what the hell does that mean? So if you can, again, here's a practical example of every little kid, and you have those little dial scales, and you jump on it. It's like, oh, I weigh 300 pounds for a split second, and then it goes back. So again, those little oscillations, those little bounces with load create that, almost accentuate that eccentric and that isometric load for that moment, right? A real quick moment. What do we always talk about in speed? It's a lot of withstanding and producing a lot of force in an instant. So this is, even though it's not the similar speed, but I do believe there's an element of those little micro virtual loads, and you're getting used to boom, having to reverse it out. So you're getting all those tissues the tissues probably maybe even going to the fascial level with that, and learning how to be reflexive, but then also like that mental part of boom, boom, feel that bounce as opposed to thinking your way through a slower contraction.
And I'm interested to see, so like we have a bunch of videos from today's lift. I can't wait to see in 3 weeks how smoother I'm going to look.
Probably, yeah.
So much smoother, just getting in and out of those the oscillations.
Yep, and this is going to help you a lot too. We talk about taking off. When you, for your sport, swing, hitting the bat in transition, and boom, right to a sprint.
Yeah.
Running around the bases, or having to pop up out of blocking a ball and popping up and trying to go get that ball that caroms away. Especially
this has me excited. I'm excited. We're gonna come up with this program, and it's gonna be great. And I'm excited. So just day one, but
And then the last exercise in that cycle was the
I forgot what we call it.
What do we want to call those? Trampoline hell or something like that.
Trampoline hell. Let's do that.
Yeah, but it's this. You got it after a while. So basically, it was a low squat foot jump on a trampoline, and that was kind of like our oscillation, our version of our oscillation. So she's just bouncing with the feet up and down on the tramp, and then she'd hit a low box and tap and go. Now every time she was instructed, when her feet came down and hit the tramp, is to pop those feet right through the trampoline and then touch the box. So again, it was 5 low squat foot jumps into 3 of those box jumps, and then 5 low squat into 2, and 5 low squat into 1.
And what I wanted to ask you about that, so like what's the difference with the trampoline? Like what is that adding there?
So the trampoline, and this is just my thoughts on it. I'm sure somebody who's smarter than I am can figure it out. But this was a little bit. So the trampoline one will, when it sinks, it's very similar to what we did with the floating heel, right? It's going to build that little bounce of the ankle, and it's going to give you a little bit of an overspeed as it assists you pushing. When you bounce off a trampoline, you bounce high, and then you come back down. So it's like an overspeed concept, while at the same time training some ankle stiffness, because every time you hit that tramp, the foot may hit a little bit differently. In this case, it was 2 feet, so you're getting a little bit of assistance from each foot. Eventually, this will come one leg, but it's also just the overall reactive ability to hit, boom, come up. A little bit of an idea from Corfus and Fichter there on a video. They were having a girl do a reactive box jump with one leg for the speed. Now, eventually, this will gravitate toward one leg. They were talking about, hit the ground hard with the foot and then bounce back up. So it's a little bit of a depth drop plyometric into a reactive, I guess you can say. But the thought process of the trampoline is simply give you the sensation of overspeed when you hit. So it's like learn how to hit fast, but if you're not fast, it's like, how do I get the sensation? You can use a trampoline for that. There's all types of other things you can use the tramp for too, but I think it lends itself well to what we were trying to accomplish.
The coordination
today.
Aspect, I was kind of a little like, what the hell?
She was definitely off. And again, you can see where she wants to push for a long period of time. In this case, it was trying to get her to push for that real, quick, and then flex back up, get into the fold, so to speak. So she can basically be more reactive and coordinate the antagonist and the agonist quickly.
So what's a way you could do this? Like, so would you just do this without a trampoline? Like,
you can do it.
I would say, but it's just going to be what, more harder on the tissues, or would you say too?
Possibly, because you look at the trampoline, it does, obviously there's some give to it. So give it as much jumping as I saw you do in the previous program, that you even turn your ankle doing something stupid, with the band over. I don't know what you were trying to do that day, but anyways, it can provide a little bit of a I don't want to say a deload. I hate using that word deload, but an unloading effect. So you don't have to take this brunt of the load, but also gives you the Benjo Jackson. All right, man. But it gives you, I guess it buttresses the impact a little bit. But also it builds that reactivity, because you got to be fast off that trampoline. If you're not, if you get stuck, you'll fall over most likely.
Yeah.
But eventually that'll become a single leg drill, and that's going to be
fun.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that.
I got to get better at the double leg first.
Yep.
But yeah, anything else you want to say?
But that's it. If you look back, warm up didn't take terribly long. This is just a classic warm up stuff that's in my warm up manual. That stuff that doesn't really change. You look at explosive block, 10 sprints in total. Really 5 measurable sprints, or 5 max effort sprints if you want to use that vernacular. And then block 2 exercises, block 3 exercises. So in reality, we only did, 6 different exercises today. If you look at that volume, not a whole lot, but it was very dense in terms of our timestamps, and then
time under tension with
the amount of reps definitely did challenge that metabolic system quite a bit.
Yeah.
So
we
conditioned while we trained. We used quality over quantity. We talk about, and we trained under to go over. So we just trained to our point, and that was it.
Yeah, it was fun, and I did not know what to expect coming into this project today.
Yeah, well, you wanted to do it. So
I want to, and I'm excited now. So I can't wait to see.
Yeah, this was
the next few weeks.
Yeah, day one, and we'll split this up. I think. Well, do we have it kind of? How do we have it split up here?
So we have
2 lower, 2 upper kind of.
2 lower, 2. I don't have it written yet, but 2 lower, 2 upper. So tomorrow's going to be upper. I'm not sure what you have on the sheet. I could check on my phone.
Me neither, because I drew this up like a month and a half ago.
Well, I'll make sure you look over it before tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow I'm coming in around 9.
Okay.
And I'm training at 9, right?
Yeah.
Is that fine? Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Should be good.
Okay, so yeah, and we're doing the upper body. I don't know what it is. I know I just saw Rhino Bar. I don't know what else it is.
Oh, probably going to be oscillations with that. That's going to be fun.
But
You know what? I will say this. I use the those oscillatory. I've been using it with Jeff and then myself. Used it with a recent cycle I'm doing based off of the hypertrophy cluster program. I've done stuff like this, but
hypertrophy cluster,
whatever the hell it's called.
Hypertrophy.
But anyway, I think is that Jake Tura's book?
Yeah, Jake Tura. Yeah.
But anyways, I bought that book. I found it interesting. I'm like, oh, you know, add this to it. I've done on the minute type stuff like that before, but not quite in the way I'm doing it now. But I used the Rhino bar for the made by Band Bell for the oscillatory bench press, where I did 5 oscillations plus a rep, and then that would be my 5 rep set. So I did that for 8x5 on the minute. Man, that's a killer. But for a guy with messed up shoulders like mine, I actually felt really good. Like I just felt.
Well, you're moving good, even at like the deadlifts today. You're moving pretty good.
Yeah, everything feels like it's switching back on. Now I'm not trying to go dunk a basketball, Jake. Sorry, I'm not gonna fucking do that. I could still do stuff on box jumps, but
we gotta videotape some of your runs. You've been doing some the squatted runs.
I don't know about that. I don't know if I'll put. I've been doing tempo runs. It's like tempo runs are not Instagrammable in my opinion. And whatever he's
insecure.
I'm not. I just don't want to I don't need to put that shit out there running. The hell.
We'll just show that you still are athletic. And we gotta do that somersault workout.
I don't care. Yeah, somersault. We'll do that one.
Yeah,
that'll be the crux of my athleticism.
That one, I think we're doing that Sunday, right?
Snatches and yeah, I call it. What do I call it? Snatch and roll or something like that.
I don't know.
It's in one of my.
We've been doing this Sunday. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
October 1st.
It's just fun to do stuff like. I just like to be able to do stuff like that for fun.
Yeah.
Nothing more. I'm not trying to break any records. Anyways, yeah. So that's a wrap up of the DB Hammer Project day one.
Yep.
And we'll do these regular reports and these briefings after we're done. Hopefully each time and kind of look at the numbers. Yeah. See what happens, guys.
Stay on this journey with us. It's going to be a lot of cool stuff, information, and yeah, work hard always.
Rant hard always.